everybody, and welcome to the audio commentary for an episode I've been wanting to talk about for a while on the commentaries. I know I haven't done one of these in a while. We have been really busy with a lot of big projects now that COVID's over. We're just doubling, tripling our time. But I have a little bit of time, and the YouTube algorithm demands it, so let's talk about last year's season finale, which is my review of Godzilla vs. Kong, the long-awaited rematch of the century, as you would say, because we have been wanting to see this matchup for a long time, and for the next little bit, we're going to be discussing not just the finale itself, what went into it, but also how we got the angry video game nerd, aka James Rolfe of Cinemassacre. So, the first thing I should say is, before we get to any of that, is what went on and the ideas for this episode. So, the idea with this episode is that it was, obviously something I've been wanting to talk about. It was something that was going to be reviewed eventually. But in terms of, like, where it was going to happen, in terms of just storylines and stuff, we had no idea, basically. The original concepts I had, was just either a review of the movie or when we actually did get James involved, there was going to be a lot more bigger ideas at play, and obviously there were a lot of complications involved, which we'll get into later. So, I obviously wanted to give a recap of the history of Kong and Godzilla with Toho, and the history of them trying to get a remake off the ground, or a sequel, and so on, and it is a very fascinating amount of history that a lot of people are kind of confused about what was what, who was who, what was made, what wasn't made, and so I've talked about it before, so this was just a good time to kind of recap it with new HD footage and stuff, which I'm slowly starting to do more better quality products, like to take out the black bars, I'll actually put the fonts of my Kong reviews in, and that also is to help evade copyright as well, which has been a huge helping hand in being able to monetize some of these videos. So yeah, one of the things they wanted to do was Godzilla vs. Kong in the 90s, and I don't think they ever, with that remake in the 90s during the Heisei era, ever got a script off the ground. I think there was a script for a sequel in 1962, but there wasn't any for the 90s. Yeah, it's funny because somebody sent me that, and I didn't know that existed at the Academy Awards, because I kind of watched the Oscars, but that scene I never knew existed, so I thought, okay, I'll mention that where Peter Jackson's Kong fought Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, which, yes, Kong would win in a heartbeat. So, oh yeah, and all that footage of, for No Way Home, that was before I saw the movie, because a lot of this was edited, like, months ahead of time. So, it was cool to kind of find all this stuff, because some of this footage from, like, commercials, and actually that one shot of Kong and the Thunder, that was actually a leak from Comic-Con when they announced they had Kong ready to go for the Monsterverse, and I actually took a lot of that footage that I did for my fan trailer, which has over 3 million views, which is pretty crazy. So, with this episode, it's interesting because there were a lot more bigger ideas at play, especially when we got James involved. James and I had been in contact for a couple of years because we met through around season 3 of my show when I was doing the Lost Kong films, and at the same time, James was doing his Kong-a-thon in preparation for Skull Island, and eventually what happened is that he had watched my show for research, for stuff to look up the history of Kong and so on. So for him, he messaged me saying those came in handy when he was doing his stuff. Anytime I can put in Production 601 clips, I will, because that is one of my favorite making of documentaries of all time. If you want a film school 101 on classic movies, Production 601, which I think is available on the Blu-rays, the current ones. So, James had told me he was very much appreciative of all the research and history I've done. After that, we had met a few times at conventions. One was in Niagara Falls, one was in Buffalo. Rarely does he come to Canada, although he said he might next year, which is pretty cool. And so we had been talking. We chatted through emails. We talked about Kong here and there. We keep in touch. And then, learned literally, I think, like, 2019, I think around the time King of the Monsters came out, and GVK was in production, which, by the way, I should mention, nobody brings this up, that the Apex logo, I saw this from the very beginning, it was reminding me of the Terminator 2 3D show at Universal Studios, which, they actually took out a couple of years ago because of, not because of it being outdated, but because of actually legal purposes, because Cameron had got the rights back, and then made Dark Fate, which fucking sucked. So, and yeah, I do love this joke. Nobody makes this joke! Nobody makes this joke that Kyle Chandler was in kaiju movies before he was Bruce Baxter. And I think what's funny is that in the history of this film, they actually tried to make Jackson's movie canon originally, so it makes me think that Kyle Chandler was cast originally to be Bruce Baxter's descendant, because, again, Wingard was going to do a sequel to Peter Jackson's Kong. That was in the works. So it makes me think Jackson was somewhat involved with the Monsterverse in this whole making of. And because given, like, a lot of the effects were done by Weta, it would actually make sense that Jackson would have some sort of supervision on Kong and his design. It makes sense, because that's like his baby, essentially. So, yeah, there's a lot of different crossovers in this one, secretly in this film, which I really like. Yeah, like Tarzan versus Kong, I like this joke. That was a fun joke to put together. And Sam Jackson did that. It's all connected, man! So, yeah, James and I had been talking about, I reached out to him and I said, hey, when this movie comes out, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to be on an episode? And, do you want to do a collab? And he was like, absolutely. So, we had been working on it for a long time. Obviously, the movie got delayed and delayed and delayed because of either, production problems or then the COVID pandemic happened and everybody was like, what do we do with the movie? And it didn't come out until, like, 2021. So, it gave us time to work on it a bit more, and the original first draft that I had written up was going to be sort of in the vein of the Nerd vs. Critic final battle video that they did back in 2008, where I would literally go all the way to the nerd's place and we would talk about it in the nerd room, and at the end of it, we would fight, we'd be fighting and stuff, and debating, like, which monster was better, while also agreeing that the movie was great. Like, we both would, like, review the movie, and then, obviously, we would decide, who's better, Godzilla or Kong? We would stigma the fan base to that centric of us two, and we would start fighting, and then we would grow kaiju size and start attacking, I don't know, Philadelphia or something, and eventually what happened was that in the original version, we had Mecha Critic show up. It was going to be Nostalgia Critic piloting, like, a giant mechanized Nostalgia Critic version of Mechagodzilla, and we were going to team up and fight, because even I knew that was going to happen. Like, Godzilla and Kong were going to team up and fight a bigger threat. That was a given. They were taking specifically from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, which that storyline in Batman v Superman makes for a better monster movie, not a superhero movie. So that was the original concept, and then, obviously, I went through it with some of my heads and producers, and some of them even said, that's a little too much, man, it might be a little too big of an idea, so maybe try to scale it down. So we originally scrapped the entire giant monster ending, because even I didn't know if James was going to be able to do that, and then we decided, well, let's just make it just a simple collab review. So then, as I was working and writing it away, I had written it actually, I was smart enough to write it two different ways. Me doing it as a more contained review like you see here, where I'm mostly talking about it, or as a collab with James. So I sent the collab version to James first, and he said, because of his schedule being so packed, because at the same time, he was working on the new season of The Nerd, he was taking care of his kids, and right around the time we were ready to go, he was working really hard on his 200th episode, which was being filmed and done simultaneously. And he told me, I don't know if I can do the whole thing, man. Can we cut this down to like a cameo or something? So I worked out a fair thing and like, where James would show up in the episode. And just the fact that I get to have him collab in some form is enough for me to be satisfied, to be like, okay, this is worth doing. So, funny enough, he filmed everything, everything at the end of his 200th episode. He was filming his 200th episode. When he got the last shots done, he actually immediately recorded the stuff for this episode, which was, I mean, kudos to him. His schedule was already tight, and he just sent me all the raw material to edit all together myself. But what a guy to get those all done in that short period of time that he had. So kudos to him. So again, like, matches to like the Peter Jackson film, it makes me think that that was probably the original plan, was have Jackson's film canon. And so, because you have both Bruce Baxter and Hayes. So, okay, where's Driscoll? Where's Darrow? Where's the descendants of Denham or Englehorn or the Venture? I mean, we had the Wanderer in Kong Skull Island, which is more based on the novel, which is funny. Like, everybody says, well, how is Disney Plus able to do this new Kong show, and why are all these Kong things happening that are outside the Monsterverse? Simple. It's the stupid novelization being essentially in the public domain. And I just think Kong should be in public domain at this point. A lot of these remakes and retellings get away with it being essentially based on the novel by Dallas W. Lovelace, which was left not relicensed in the contract because Cooper died before he could renew it. And yeah, like, this movie is also a G.I. Joe movie. A lot of movies lately are taking from G.I. Joe, which I don't mind. Like, Jurassic World Dominion was a G.I. Joe movie. Let's just take all these movies with giant monsters and dinosaurs and make them G.I. Joe movies. Like, yes. So why don't you just make Dino Riders? It'd be great. Oh, funny enough, I actually already reviewed Twister, which is cool. Go check that review out.
Thanks, Max O'Hara from Mighty Joe.
Also, sorry if you hear, like, a crunching. I was just, I'm drinking water. Oh, yeah, anytime I can use other Kong clips in connection, I will definitely do it. And this is something I agree with a lot of the fans, that Serizawa's son's character, all that stuff was cut. I do believe there's a longer cut out there, and I do wonder if the sequel's going to acknowledge it, but probably not. It's a studio just trying to cash in on a successful film. But I do want to see Wingard's original cut. I am curious to see if they're ever going to release it. Probably not, because this is Warner Brothers, and they're kind of fucked right now. They, I wouldn't be surprised if they file for bankruptcy. Their new CEO has fucked up way too goddamn much. And yeah, originally there was supposed to be some Mothra scenes, apparently, too. Wingard had actually shot a lot of stuff that was cut. I think this was supposed to be like a 2.5-hour film, and it actually they had to condense it down to less than 2 hours. Yeah, I actually think this is some of the best Godzilla material we've had in the American stuff. Next, like I think ultimately with the entire Monsterverse series, 2014 is my least favorite, but I think my favorite out of all of them is not Godzilla vs. Kong. It's actually King of the Monsters, because they finally did an American Godzilla movie that didn't suck, and it was actually well respecting the original source material with the music, the design, and everything. So all this other stuff with Kong Skull Island is probably my second favorite, and Godzilla vs. Kong is my third favorite. I think because of the editing and because of stuff cut, there are problems with the film, but I still think it is one of the better ones. Like, Godzilla 2014 is definitely the worst of the series because of just how much it was boring. And but all three films, Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, I all like all the same. They're all wonderful films. And again, Weta, spectacular job on all the special effects in these movies. So, in terms of just things like, again, just editing, this took maybe 2 months to edit altogether because of the sheer amount of clips and the length of the episode, and I was still adding stuff as I was editing because I was coming up with new jokes. Like, everybody's made the joke, like, I made the joke about him waking up like Shrek, so I wanted to make a joke about that. Yes, he scratches his ass. Like, there's so many things, accomplishments King Kong has done. He has scratched his ass, he can fly, he can talk. Like, all that's missing is from sing and dance, which he kind of did, but at the same time, like, even zooming in, cropping in on that shot, the detail in the CGI, like, Kong has never looked better. The CGI on this movie is spectacular. Why the fuck this did not get a Best Visual Effects nomination at the Oscars astounds me, because this movie was really, the effects were some of the best I think these two monsters have ever been, and they really did their homework, and they really paid off with those effects. Actually, some shots in this too were very confrontation inspired, I also noticed as well. Yeah, I mean, most people probably ask me, what'd you think of this, that Kong can talk? That just sounds really dumb. But, you know, we've seen dumber, I would say, and I didn't have a problem with it because it's a big cartoon movie, which I didn't mind at all.
Nah, in this film, he's played by Eric Peaty.
So, yeah, it's just, there's, anytime I can use footage from, other films to kind of describe what I'm talking about, like, George of the Jungle is a movie that actually has held up a little better nowadays, and I love the fact that anytime I can use a joke from that, I will. Sean GTS Reborn has told me so much about the sequel, which, it sounds insane, but I kind of want to see what they do with it. So, anyway, the ending to this episode, which I'll bring up a little bit more in detail, was originally meant for the season finale we're working on now. And, but because of, obviously, with COVID and different things going on in my life, I obviously had to push and shift around certain stuff in scripts. It was not just me moving out, or it was not just the COVID thing, but it was me moving out. I had moved out, and obviously living spaces had changed, and I had to basically explain why the room changed. There was a few episodes in between where it was at my old place, which was my parents' place, and now the apartment I'm in now. So because of just what I wanted to do with the story, I didn't want to just move. I actually still wanted to stay in the old house. So what I did was, in my New York episode, location episode, oh, I love this joke. I love the joke about the Monsters Inc. joke where it's like, Mama, it's another gator in the house. So, I had basically didn't want to just have a move. The original concept was always that the house would blow up. And that was going to be leaving some dramatic impact, for especially this finale. But obviously things needed to be shifted around and moved around. So, I decided to basically just utilize my room, the new room in my apartment that I do all my reviews in, and just say, oh, there was a redesign in the house, so that's why it looks a tad different. Yeah, I know Adam Wingard is a big anime guy, and I have seen Death Note, his remake of Death Note. It's okay. Willem Dafoe's the only good thing about it. So anyway, yeah, the whole thing with the room had to change. So I tried to match what the original room looked like. That was one of the key things I had to do when I was putting all this together. And yes, funny enough, I actually got some of the toys from the movie donated to me by fans. A fan had sent me a Godzilla figure from the film, and then I started getting the Kong figures. I got the Mechagodzilla figure, and they are nice toys, I will admit. Playmates, I think it's Playmates, right? They did a really good job with those toys, and I really like them. So, yeah, I just had to kind of match the continuity and just say, oh, just a little change in the room, and then come this season when I finally get an apartment, I just was able to replicate the old room to make it look exactly the same. So, it's just more so for dramatic effect that the house blows up to make it part of the storyline because of that change in my life. And, yeah, it just, that happens when you're making films and videos in an episodic series. Some ideas you have for one episode, you might have to switch around and put in another episode and kind of, like, change the storyline and everything. Oh yeah, a lot of Jaws in this too. Like, a lot of shots are influenced by Jaws. Like, Adam Wingard likes his movies. That shot of Quint, I actually did have to try to match the sunset color timing with the clips, which is something I do a lot of now. Whenever I use clips from another movie and kind of collab into a film, like kind of make it like a crossover, I try to make sure the clips match the color timing of the scene. So that's something I do. Yeah, that punch is iconic. That will go down as one of Kong's greatest moments. That punch, everybody flipped their shit. I did too. I loved it. And I wanted to just show like a collage of everybody. And one group I actually discovered that I really like with that clip is actually Double Toasted podcast, which they're on Twitch, they're on YouTube, and they stem back from the I can't remember what's the, Spill.com. The Spill.com reviews are really long, extensive series of reviews that were like a podcast from like like the early 2000s, and now they have spilled out. They have double toasted, which is really good. I'm very disappointed that I did not show up at any of these reactions. Yeah, so there's double toasted. They are amazing. They're an amazing podcast, and their Godzilla vs. Kong reaction got me to subscribe to them. So kudos to those guys. Angry Joe had the best reaction, I think. It's fucking hilarious because he's a huge Godzilla fan. And then I just thought I'd add this because I thought it would be funny to show the original characters from the original film react to the trailer. Yeah, I was kind of freaking out. I was kind of having way too much fun with that trailer. So yeah, it was just, I was really looking forward to this film. Like, there was real hype behind this, and I think the studio had zero, because King of the Monsters kind of didn't do well financially, so they had to kind of just say, meh, screw it, we'll just do something else. So, yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on here, a lot of clips, obviously me talking about, No Way Home, and, the previous films. It's kind of hard to talk about it. Like, yeah, I will admit one thing I will say, this episode is extensively long, and my episodes have been getting longer. I think this episode, this finale, really was the start of the new change in formats and how I get episodes done, how they look, how they're presented, how I want them made. Which is a lot of patience and a lot of time, which I take a lot of now. Yeah, a lot of people brought this up, that there were nods to the ride, which I didn't see it, but because so many people brought it up, I thought I'd make a joke about it, where there are moments where it feels like Back to the Future, the ride, and Confrontation, so, you know, anytime I can make a nod to that ride, I love it. I love the Back to the Future ride. Only thing I wish I added was, like, Kong's roar from the ride, which I have a lot of the original sound audio from. I have a lot of the raw roars that Kong had projected on the Confrontation stage. So, yeah, basically, putting things together and everything. So a lot of my episodes now, a lot of people might not know, they take a little longer to put together, because now that COVID's over and I'm working with a lot of people and making big productions again, they are taking longer to produce. That's why I've been able to put many videos out, which I do apologize as well for like the 20,000th time, which I'm very apologetic. And it's just, this was the change. This was the ultimate shift in, oh, it's not just reviews now. Now it's about, let's get the story going again, because we were on hold during the pandemic. And I took that risk, because even when I was producing this, knowing where the story was going to go, I had no idea how the COVID pandemic was still going to go down. It was still raging around this time. And I think it's really kind of cut down a bit, and now it's kind of like nothing. So it gives us an opportunity to work on big projects again, which were on hold.
Is less of a hot molten lava and
so yeah, talking about the Hollow Earth, my opinion on it, it's interesting. I can tell they're taking a lot from a lot of public domain storytelling, so Atlantis, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and the Kong novel are definitely at play here when it comes to getting all the stuff made for this Monsterverse to connect to Godzilla. They can't obviously use stuff from the Peter Jackson film, the original film, the 76 remake, although there are a lot of nods. I think there's a moment where Kong does roar with the 76 roar, which was nice to the sound design. And the new creatures I like, and yes, there's a joke coming up about Bidensaurus in the World of Kong book, which Monstrosities just constantly brought up in the live streams I was on with them, which was really fun. And yeah, I think Adam Wingard is a fan of the 76 remake, which I have huge respect for. Wingard, from what I heard, is actually a really nice guy, and I actually would like to meet him. And oh, I should bring up, although I am proud of this joke. I don't make too many politic jokes, but this is one of my favorite jokes I've ever done. Because Mitch McConnell sounds like Jimmy Stewart, like old Jimmy Stewart from An American Tail of Five Goes West. He sounds exactly like him, and he is such an asshole. There's my political take on the fucker. And yeah, just, Kong has a throne. He's King Kong, he has a throne, and a lot of this, I think, kind of stemmed from, I think I remember early, one of the scripts for The Legend of King Kong had Kong's lair have a throne and all this sort of like ancient temple stuff, which back in 1975 I didn't know how the hell they were going to visualize that. So, funny enough, I can't remember if I did I do a Shooting Stars joke? I don't think I did. No, the joke originally was shooting stars. But because at the time, I had just done the Hook review with JTS Reborn, which we are going to do a commentary on soon, I figured that was the better joke. That was a callback to the previous episode, which was Hook. And that was my longest episode at over an hour. And, the Hook review was fun, so I just decided to use the John Williams Flying to Neverland track for that, because I think the shooting stars joke I had made too many times, and I was getting sick of it. And this was, just making this joke about Kong flying. I remember seeing it, and I was literally laughing. This was, I know it was, like, both visually cool and everything, and it wasn't intentional, but, like, literally, Kong flying was the funniest shit I've ever seen, and this is obviously a total nerd moment. Nerd moment when I was taking a lot from when he was screaming, this LJN game, Maximum Carnage, it's not shit! It's not shit! I was taking a lot from that. Yeah, literally digging from, not digging to China, but digging from China. That is a joke I wanted to make because it does take place in Hong Kong. I always thought it was in the trailer, so it was going to be Tokyo, which I think would have been better. Notice how none of these legendary films ever take place in Tokyo. I want one of them to be in Tokyo. It just has to be. In terms of just, like, what other, you hear it right here. You hear it very slightly. That is a nod Wingard's a fan. But, one thing I wanted to say was, shit, I forgot now. Damn it! What I want in the Monsterverse. I really want to see more spin-off movies, like prequels, sort of like what Marvel's doing. So, like, for example, I want a Mothra solo film, but I want it to, say, take place in World War II, where, like, maybe it's with Europe and the Germans and monarchs there trying to fight back, Nazis and everything, but Mothra shows up to help. A Rodan movie where it's sort of like Top Gun, where, it's a hotshot pilot movie, but then Rodan shows up. Like, those are the kind of ideas I want to see brought to the table with future projects. And the whole, like, shoving the stick down the throat, everybody was freaking out about that, and I love making the joke of, oh my god, he did the thing. He did the thing. That is my favorite joke to make nowadays regarding pop culture and fandom. It's like, oh my god, he did the thing. It's amazing, awesome. Yeah, people forget about this. There was the Easter egg of Senator Willis and Secretary O'Brien, which is a nice nod. And again, there's so many great lines in these movies that are great for, like, out of context jokes when I'm discussing what I'm talking about.
That Carl Denham did exist and maybe traveled to Skull Island at some point.
So yeah, it's just, again, a lot of Indiana Jones inspired stuff, again, makes me think they should have done 96. Denham University is something that I completely forgot about when I first saw it, but when I realized they still did that, I'm like, oh right, I forgot about that. Yeah, again, I feel like Adam, obviously because James was going to make a cameo, he probably saw the Nerd vs. Critic episode, and probably paid homage to this, so here we go. Here we go. The nerd finally shows up, like, 2/3 in. Now, this shot of me spilling out my drink, I actually did that for real, and I got it on my camera, but to make sure it didn't get sticky and messed up, it was the last thing I shot, where I covered it in saran wrap, so it would, like, cover it, and I also had to cover my TV with, like, a plastic garbage bag to make sure nothing got spilt. So I just sent the script over to James, and he just rehearsed it, and he was a really good sport about it, and he just did so good on cue with this. It was just great to finally have us cross paths. The trailer I put out for Christmas Day was just a nice present for the fans on Christmas, and the fact this came out in New Year's. So, yes, the fact that he acknowledged I covered the Kong games, and I know there's a couple games I missed, because I saw him on a video in G-Fest, which is pretty cool. So, okay, this cameo with the Nostalgia Critic, obviously I wanted to get the critic involved somehow. The original idea that if the critic couldn't do it, we would just cut to, like, him screaming to a shot of the nerd's closet. And then I was gonna, there was a joke cut where I was like, oh hey, that reminds me, I've got Angry Joe in my closet, and he's just screaming stuff as well. But the thing is with the critic is that when James finally got the footage to me and he was, like, really good about it and we got it all put together, I actually messaged Doug about it on Twitch. He was, because I follow Doug and Channel Awesome on Twitch. They do their gaming streams and stuff, which is really fun. And I just messaged Doug on the chat just saying, hey, I got James involved. Do you want a cameo as Nostalgia Critic? And I remember his reaction on stream was like, huh. You know what? Yeah, like, sure, I'll get back to you. So I emailed him, and I sent him the scene of what I was going for, and he just quickly shot it on his phone, which was really fun. He literally shot it in the closet at the studio, at Channel Awesome Studios, which was fun. So, kudos to Doug. I would love to work with him again. He's such a good sport, and he's also just relatively funny. So, one of those improv creators, which is cool. So, the music, the Terminator theme, was actually taken from Salvation, which, again, is probably the last great sequel. Yeah, and then, obviously, they were making a nod to the original here. And, yeah, I already knew Mechagodzilla was going to be in the movie. It's funny, when I did my fan trailer, people were saying, oh, he predicted it! He knew it was going to happen! Yeah, I knew, because the toys leaked, and they kept delaying the movie, so I said, fuck it, I'll make a trailer so they don't have to. It was just, I knew Mechagodzilla was probably coming. Is it a little too soon? Maybe, but was it awesome? Yes, it was. I wanted to see Gigan originally, and I think the sequel, they might be doing either Gigan or Destroya, from what I heard. I haven't really been paying too much attention to the production of the sequel, so I just want to kind of leave it very open-minded until I see a trailer. And yes, everybody, I remember seeing a poster for a potential sequel where Bryan Cranston was Jet Jaguar. And I was just like, I have to make a joke about this. And I actually kind of want that to happen, even though it probably won't, which kind of sucks. Yeah, I felt his design was very Terminator-based, very Evangelion. Yes, there is a lot of Evangelion in this movie in regards to Mechagodzilla's design. You are the original weeb of Hollywood, man!
It has a slight anime feel to it, and I'm very interested in anime.
Oh, okay, you too, George, but my point...
And yeah, Robin Williams responds Evangelion, not Evangelion. I had to make a nod to that. My friend Josh, Endgamer64, Ultravision Productions, he's a huge Evangelion fan, and I saw there was a lot of Eva in this film. And let me just tell you, that little segment of doing the intro to Evangelion, that was a huge hassle to edit. That is not easy to do, let me just say right now. And yeah, these movies have a lot of anime-inspired visuals. Adam Wingard is a lot of Evangelion, a lot of Death Note. Like, all these guys are obviously one of us. They're fans of anime. So Dragon Ball Z, Evangelion, Gundam, Joseph Gordon, not Joseph Gordon, forget what it is. Jordan Vogt Roberts, who did Kong Skull Island. He is doing the Gundam movie, which I'm actually really excited to see. And yeah, I'm glad Mechagodzilla is not a Bayformer Neo bot that goes it doesn't make those sound effects, it makes bulky robot 80 sound effects. So it's like I love those type of robots, especially the duplicates that they don't act like NeoPixel Transformers that make little sounds. They actually make bulky robot sounds. And yeah, Ready Player One, I get the feeling that Spielberg and them went to Legendary to find early concepts for a potential Mechagodzilla if he showed up early on, and they probably did that. So yeah, this is all Dragon Ball Z. This is just Goku and Piccolo fighting Raditz, or more so, a lot of people brought up, it's Goku and Vegeta fighting Cooler. And yeah, this whole fight scene, I'll admit, was the highlight of the film. Like, I was expecting this to happen, but I wasn't expecting it to be this awesome. And yeah, they really had fun with this finale, I could totally tell. And it was something I wanted to obviously do in the original finale. And yeah, I was obviously using a lot of clips from Team 4-Star, which I really love using it whenever I can. Team 4-Star actually really revigorated Dragon Ball Z for a lot of fans, and it was just good to just see. I just love Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, I love that's my favorite joke in Team 4-Star, the punch to the dick. Okay, if Mechagodzilla punched Godzilla in the dick, that would have been funny. It would have been like, he keeps kicking me in the dick, Kong! Why? Now, interesting enough, when I originally cut this together, it was a little bit longer because I was literally comparing the Man of Steel theme to the scene where Kong picks up Mechagodzilla, or like fights him. And what's funny is that it was so similar that when I played the scene the first time I uploaded this unlisted to test it for copyright, it declared that music as Man of Steel. It was that similar. They couldn't tell the difference, so it proved my point. So I actually had to go back and condense it down and cut it down and make it actually match. Like, match it where it's like a little bit more condensed so it's less copyright driven. And yeah, I do love making that, like doing little musical numbers. I still enjoy doing them from time to time. That was one of the things I did actually in 2021. I finally broke down and started doing, writing songs and parody songs, which not many people can do, but I thought, oh, fuck it, I'll write them and I'll do them, I'll sing. I'm always shy about singing on stage, you're never gonna see that, but like allowing me to sing and do cool musical numbers, I'll try when I can. And yeah, it was just, the Super Kong joke, that's what I thought of it. I didn't see Mecha Kong, I didn't see King Kong, I saw Super Kong, I think that was better. Look, Godzilla can keep the king of the monsters, but you ain't gonna match against Super Kong. And Super Kong just sounds amazing. It's just basically a golden Ozaru from Dragon Ball Z, that's all that's missing. I'll expect the next film, if we get Burning Godzilla, can we get Super Kong where he goes gold? Just go full on Dragon Ball, with the Monsterverse. So, again, it was just more, this was my whole take on it. A lot of people were like, oh, you must be pissed off that Kong lost because Godzilla wiped the floor with them, and haha, take that and that, bad Team Kong, Team Godzilla. The truth is, honestly, I didn't care who won because, one, I kind of knew Godzilla was probably going to win, not because of, oh, he's more powerful and stuff, only because it's fair. Yeah, this line, I was quoting Ninja Turtles, so I was like, okay, I'll add that clip in. So, it was just one of those things where I knew Godzilla was going to win, and I felt that was fair. That was my response. It was fair. Kong had had the victory for 60 years, and he was really the only monster who could beat him. And honestly, I just felt it was about time Godzilla got a win. And I was actually kind of rooting for him. But, like, I love Kong, but I just felt like, because of just the fairness of it and the 60-year trophy that Kong had, Godzilla finally needed his title back. So, at least they actually made it fair. We're giving the victory to Mechagodzilla when he finally destroyed him. But yeah, very Rob Roy. I did not expect it to be that brutal. You don't expect these kills to be so brutal and them to top themselves every film. Like, Godzilla 2014, he literally, like, breathes fire into the monster's throat. Kong Skull Island, he rips his, the stomach and intestines out. And then you have, like, Godzilla vs. Kong, he rips his fucking head and spinal cord out. There's a lot of Mortal Kombat moves. Like, where's my video game on this film? I'm still waiting, like, frickin' Warner Brothers games. Where is my Monsterverse game? Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, a lot of people had flaws with this film, but again, it's one of those turn your brain off type of movies where you're not worried about the outcome, or you're not worried about the film, you just want to see the fun action visuals. It's an action movie, and most action movies you can turn your brain off and still like the characters and still like the stuff going on, but don't try to take it as a glorious piece of cinema. Okay, I love that. Because, like, some of the Showa movies are a little bit boring, so anytime I'll slap a boring clip on, I definitely will. So, yeah, this is a good movie. It is a great nod to all things Godzilla and King Kong. Like, it is a loving tribute to both franchises. And I will say, Godzilla 85 is still one of my favorite films in the franchise. And I do, minor spoiler, want to do something with Godzilla finally at some point in the future. Can't say what, but there is something I'm kind of cooking up. I can't say when it's coming out, how it's going to be done, but I'm finally breaking down because why not? I might as well just do something with Godzilla that isn't related to Kong. So look forward to that in the future. Coming soon. Just that speech is what makes Godzilla for me. Like, that 84 is still one of the better films.
At least has good actors.
Yeah, and it's just, God, I'm running out of things to say about this. This is a very long episode. And they are getting longer. That is one of the things that I'm having issues with. Every time I think I plan it to be a 20-minute episode, it ends up being 45 to an hour, and that's something I've been kind of getting used to nowadays, is knowing, expect whatever time frame you plan it to be a little bit longer, because you've got so many ideas and so many other people. Like, I actually nowadays, I'll present my episodes to my team and show them at first and take note to say, hey, you should add this joke and this joke, and then I'll go back, do reshoots, do last minute takes, and kind of add some stuff into it to make it look a little better in hindsight, so it'll actually add more to the episode. So yeah, it's just me talking about the history of how this film kind of came and went. Although now it's getting a lot of views. Okay, so this stream I was on with GT's Reborn in Kaiju Network has gone down in history as the biggest troll move Warner Brothers ever made. And throwing that chair has been broken since, and I still use it. That weight pissed me off so goddamn much, because they invited me down, and I spent a whole day when I could have been working waiting for this to happen. And we made the most of it. It was fun. We actually got the attention of Warner Brothers. They tried to shut down our stream. They were actually really pissed off at us. And basically, yeah, it was just one of those things where the trailer took so long and the movie kept getting delayed that I finally said screw it and made my own. It got my most viewed video. And yeah, hey, where's Cloverfield 2, Paramount? You're on a streak right now with Top Gun 2. Finally get my sequel to Cloverfield going. And yeah, we got all this new stuff coming, and I'm just telling a lot of people saying, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? And I say, I'll wait till I see a trailer. Don't judge a book before... They say don't judge a book by its cover. I say don't judge a product before you even see the cover, before it's even written. So that's where I'm at. I want to wait to see the trailer and the cameras roll before I give an opinion. I'm like that with most upcoming productions, because what happens when you talk about your predictions before the cameras roll? Half the time they get canceled, and then you wasted your time. So coming back to the nerd making his opinion on the film, it's interesting because the gun he has, again, it was part of his LJN review of his 200th episode, so he had that handy, and I said, oh, just have the gun, the zapper or something, but he went the extra mile. And I love the joke he makes here where it's like, it's plugged in too. I'm like, I don't know why. That's funny. That's really funny. I love the scope on that zapper. I kind of want one. So what's funny is that after this episode was a huge hit, James and I are still in contact. He's a really good friend. I love James so much. It's great. But people say to me, there's the old saying, don't meet your heroes, they disappoint you. I was really gotten to YouTube because of James and because of his reviews and him introducing me to actually a lot that I like now. Our connection with Kong and what we like about Kong and how it influenced us. Him introducing me to the Universal monsters. I would have never gotten into horror movies without his Monster Madness. Not to mention just like Godzilla-thon and just the nerd and gaming. Like, there was a lot. James is the pioneer with YouTube content that we have now. And when they say don't meet your heroes, it's because, they always disappoint you. But James and people like Meredith McCoy, they are proof that that is 100% wrong. And James has been a huge supporter of my content and a huge helping hand with advice and everything when it comes to stuff. We definitely want to collab sometime in the future. He actually invited me down to a screening of the Nerd movie and the Game Chasers movie in Philadelphia, which I was going to go to, but there were some complications. But next time we meet, it will definitely be worth it. I really do want to hang out with him more, and I do want to maybe eventually do more collabs with him, because he's just such a good guy to work with in terms of just making videos and the creative process, which he actually has been, he did actually have some ideas he sent to me. He said, oh, just put this in this there, and I said, oh, thanks, James. So, when it comes to the ending, okay, let's get to this ending. So, the house blowing up was something I had planned for this season finale coming up that was going to be part of this massive event. And it was going to lead into the dramatic effect of that episode. But because of COVID and because of me moving out and all these different complications, I had to switch some things around. And I think it actually worked out for the better because the review or the whole ending to the sequence has played out into the dramatic affair of the storyline of this season and actually came out with better, beneficial written material. And I'm actually kind of glad it came out how it did. And it's got so many cameos. It's got so many nods to previous episodes. You have JT's Reborn. You have Brad, you have Nick, Jackson of Jackson Knight Productions, and you have like characters like Iron Man show up, which is a nod to the G.I. Joe review along with Cobra. There's so much going on. So again, it was just fun to kind of put this stuff together and obviously adding the effects and everything. Dr. Ratchet Von Stone, that's another thing I should mention. This was the overall final episode with this character, even though in a recent episode there's a flashback that I shot recently to kind of explain that this character had a huge impact on the story a bit deeper than what we expected. And it's going to play into stuff in the season finale. So with Ratchet Von Stone, basically, obviously, a lot of people responded with this character like, I hate this guy. He's an asshole. He keeps, like, stopping the show. Like, what do we do here? And I was like, that was my plan, to make you hate this guy to the point where you want him killed. And I have a knack for that. Ever since I did Carl Denham in my remake of Kong, I have a knack of creating villains that people are just like, just fucking die. I hate this guy. And thankfully, it played off really well. That was the original plan, because in this episode, he gets shot in the face by Cobra Commander, which I really like. So Timber's kind of final appearance here. Now, not the fact that she died. She's alive and well, very well in good health. So there's some things that have happened in my life that I'll keep personal, but my dad has moved to South Carolina, and he had taken Timber with her, our dog, and she is still going to be relevant in the show. She is still going to make appearances here and there, and it's just going to require me either traveling to South Carolina to do shots with her, or I get my dad to send me phone shots of her that I can incorporate into the show. Don't want to go into detail, but yeah, so Timber is still relevant in the show. She's just not local as much. I just thought I would bring that up for future reference. People are like, what happened to Timber? And I did like how I wrote it in where it kept anonymous where she went, that she just ran. She ran. She was kind of like, then the idea was to kind of replicate BB-8 with the plans to the map of Luke Skywalker and The Force Awakens. Now, also, this is the final appearance of BigJackFilms, a character I just kind of created on a whim in my books episode, and I didn't want to drag it on and be like another Ask That Guy with the Glasses knockoff, so I thought, okay, well, he's gonna die too. A lot of characters die in this episode, and yeah, that's something I do too. I kill off characters. I don't just make it a joke. I actually will kill off characters if they have relevance to the plot. I will admit these shots aren't that impressive because of the rendering and because I was learning more and more about certain things with Pinnacle that it causes issues with like the rendering and the I can't remember what the lacing or something with the footage, which is kind of weird. So again, it was just this whole ending of the explosion was very much inspired by the season finale of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the third season, which was the end of the original series. It was very much taking a nod to that, but it was just kind of knocking that. That bull creature, a lot of people were like, well, what the fuck is up with that? That's just one of Gablor's minions. He has a lot of demons and monsters at his beck and call, so there's a ton of those things just going around, running rampant within the planet. Yeah, it was just nice to get that kind of feeling of, yeah, Timber, what's gonna happen to the dog? Well, you'll find out in a later episode. So there she goes for now. So, anyway, and then also, the tunnels, people are like, what's that about? That was established in my Great Escape review, which you should check out. That's one of my best episodes. And it's kind of built underneath a bed in the basement. That was the idea, that they were moving a lot of stuff in these tunnels that were wired to a signal called Unit 205, which is going to play a part in the season finale of this year, actually. So there's a lot of dread. I left it on the very Empire Strikes Back note where the heroes lose in this finale, and you kind of have to do that for dramatic effect to keep your audience engaged. I love that note I made. That was really good. That was a really good dramatic effect. So yeah, there's just shots of like all the stuff happening, the base is under attack, more so than the Empire. And this is almost like, it almost feels like a finale, like a very gloom finale where he may not make it. And this was the biggest plot point of the episode. The fictional dimensional transporter created by Dr. Terawatt and BigJackFilms is destroyed. And the question on getting it back is raised. The stakes are raised on that. And I think that was important to do, to add that sort of dynamic. It was also Rice Duke, Eric's advice to kill off characters as well. Another plot point, the last of the power cells, which was actually resolved in the Batman reviews, which you should definitely check out. I am definitely going to put out more storyline compilations in the future when I have enough material to cut together. So again, this is also a nod not just to Power Rangers Season 3, but to the ending of Back to the Future Part 2, when the DeLorean gets struck by lightning and disappears and goes into 1885. These explosion shots were very difficult because I had to make sure my house had a natural blue sky for natural blue screen to composite these shots, which thankfully it was. And it was interesting. So my dad helped me out with creating all this stuff. All the parts you see of the fictional dimensional transporter on the ground, we were clearing out the shed as I was moving out, and we found some old broken cameras from Kong, like the Carl Dunham cameras. So we just trashed it, smashed it, ripped them all apart, and just scattered the parts all through my backyard and actually put a little flammable liquid and gasoline on the parts and just started lighting it on fire and made it look like this dramatic effect. And it helped. It really helped. I put a ton of blood makeup on me. I was a mess, and it was a hot day, so the environment and the attitude in shooting this was perfect. I almost caught fire, actually, in that shot, because there was some flames of a piece really close. It was really lighting up. I almost caught fire in that shot. I think part of the suit actually burnt. And that leather jacket, which had been an updated jacket for a while, was starting to show wear and tear. So I have a lot of jackets that act as like battle damage, which work out really well. These metahuman control guards are great because they're just split screen, so it's just me on split screen, making it look like I can double or triple it. Iron Man shows up here, who has been my security guard throughout the whole show, so he makes a little bit of a final appearance. He's not dead. He's coming back for sure. And I do love this shot. I just had to go in and kind of cut out parts of my house and just add the fires and stuff, but that shot of the house is really tragic, but it's just, oh, that looks so well. That works. That's a great shot. So, to see all the metahuman guards have me cornered, it's a mix of split screen and blue screen, and then obviously some Goblork minions, so it's clear signs that the villain has greater plans ahead of the storyline, which is going to play into the season finale this year. And again, this was the demise of Ratchet Von Stone. I just shot this very quickly, and then went ahead and did green screen of the shot itself of him getting shot in the head. And then this whole I Got Other Plans bit, that's actually a nod to South Park. There's the episode Go God Go, where Cartman goes into the future, and he gets the Nintendo Wii, so it's like, sorry, Oblivious, I got other plans. So this is a total nod to that episode. The music is actually from Inuyasha, which is one of my favorite TV scores. I can use whenever I can if it's possible. It was interesting to see the reaction to all this. It was really fun to see so many people see the ending like this and stick around, especially when they were hyped for the nerd. The nerd, I think, brought in the audience, but I think it also brought in more attention to the story, which is the plan. That was the plan, to use the nerds, the whole marketing of the nerd in the episode to also drive force with the storyline to allow people to get more of an audience for it, so there's more engagement, so people actually want to be invested in this, what's happening. And I love it. That was a great form of marketing all that together. And what's also great about this episode is that it also confirms who this guy is, who we have been labeled as Dr. Nigel Gabor, who is the human host to Dr. Gabor, or to Gablor in the real world. And, yeah, it's actually him in disguise. It very much is a very Naraku sort of trick that is in Inuyasha, where Naraku will disguise himself as a lord of a castle. And it's very much a nod to that. I like that shot, how that came out of the burning house, too. So yeah, this was sort of it. This was sort of it for the finale. And what's great about all this stuff, it makes for good recaps of previous episodes. I'm overall really happy how this episode came out, how it ended, how it left on such a lower note, and how people now are like, oh wow, okay, I want to see what happens next. That's the best compliment, is that people are now like, they want to see what happens next. They want to see where this is going to go in the storyline and what's going to happen to all these characters. And it's also tied into other shows, such as Fandemic and Huey's Animated Movie Reviews. It's kind of confirming that this is now all part of essentially what's called the Reviewerverse, which stems back to the Nerd and versus Critic days. So Top the Fourth Wall is canon, all that stuff, even like the stuff in the Channel Awesome Movies, all of it is connected to this show. And if they're the original Star Trek series, we're Star Trek Next Gen. And that's it for this commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, enjoyed me talking about it for a good, hour? I just wanted to get something out there for you guys to discuss what went on in this episode. It was really fun. A big thank you to James of Cinemassacre and Doug Walker and everybody involved. This was a fun episode to put all together and finally get off the ground. I'm glad I can review this movie, and I'm getting the storyline back up, and there's more to come, so stay tuned. We got new episodes coming in, and look forward to the season finale, because it's gonna be a doozy. So until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off, and for now, I guess enjoy this cameo clip of the critic at the end, which he actually added some improv, which I liked. He sent me that as a little extra, so I stuck that in the final bit. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later. For now, take it easy.
Why do I say yes to anything? The trolls were right, I really am gonna die in the closet.